Happy New Year's, everyone. Thanks for watching Mikasa Sukasa. I am your host, Niko House, and I urge you all to join our One Follow $1 campaign where we show the mainstream media, and even those posing to be independent media, but are actually mainstream, sneaky TYT, that we will support independent media. They will not support the truth. So you can join the One Follow $1 campaign by donating $1 to the Patreon link below. That is it. That's all you need to show. All you need to do to show the mainstream media that you will support independent journalists. It doesn't break your pocket. It's literally less than what you're paying for your Netflix right now, just $1. To change the lives of a lot of different journalists. But speaking of journalism and journalists, I was gone for a couple of weeks and a lot of things happened. One of the biggest stories that has come out, obviously, is Cenk. I'll probably pronounce his name wrong, but whatever. Writing these crazy blogs back in 2002, 2003 time frame that were pretty, they were bad. Like, I understand, like, from the perspective of people do stupid things where they're young. I get that. I understand that. But, bro, I've never in my life on the internet talked about some young teenage girls being whores because they were standing out in the corner being young teenage girls, doing what young teenage women and men do at that age, which is hang out and pick up the opposite sex or, you know, the same sex. But I would not ridicule them. I've never in my life, even in like my most ignorant stage of my youth, I'm still pretty young, but even in the most ignorant stages of my youth, I've never said that women were inferior creatures, let alone on the internet, okay? He used to be conservative, so I kind of get how it could have, this all went so wrong. I don't understand why he didn't preempt this discussion. I thought that would have been the smart thing to do, but he didn't. Whatever. Like that's what I figured would have. Like, if you're going to get into politics, because he crossed over himself. He made that choice. You all know how I feel about the Justice Democrats. I actually like the Justice Democrats, a lot of the individual personalities and the candidates. I like them personally. I like them in a vacuum. I do not like them being directly attached as an initiative and as a political group and as a political super PAC to the Young Turks, because that means that the TYT and the Young Turks and Cenk and even Kyle, even though I'm almost positive that wasn't Kyle's initial intentions as an individual when he created the Justice Democrats, but that means that they are now financially vested in the success of one particular party. There's no Justice Republicans, which makes the Justice Democrats vastly different from our revolution, which I do actually support, since I came to find out that they do in fact support not only Democratic candidates, but they've supported Green candidates, independent candidates, and they said if there was a Republican candidate who was actually, you know, a progressive Republican by name but progressive by value, then they would endorse them as well. That is much more acceptable. But Justice Democrats are just that, Justice Democrats. And they kind of like, I don't know why people think that that's okay. It's just simply not, because their news they're going to choose to report on is biased. They could pick up candidates that just seem popular, like they did with Ro Connor, who had already won. He already had his own money and everything like that. He didn't really need the Justice Democrats now, but in later elections for higher positions, he will absolutely need them. But they could take those type of candidates and like pull them into their embrace and say, hey, you're a Justice Democrat now. Go make us some money. Go fundraise for us. Things like that, which is a problem. That's problematic, because that's how quid pro quo starts. I do endorse individuals. I endorsed Jill Stein. Obviously, I endorsed Bernie Sanders. I've endorsed Stephanie Myers from South Florida running for Congress. I've endorsed Elijah Manley, former presidential candidate for the Green Party, now running for school board at large in South Florida. I've endorsed, candidates in Michigan individually. Independent, Democratic, I've endorsed them individually. But I have not, however, throw all of my weight as a media personality behind one particular party. That is supposed to be what we are fighting against, so that the independent news conglomerates don't end up becoming the CNNs and the Fox News of the world. So, should Cenk have been excommunicated from the Justice Democrats? Well, my answer at this point should be very obvious. I don't think he should have ever been on the board of an activism group, or I won't even say an activism group, I would say a political action group, where their only goal is to get Democrats elected. Hell, and in some cases, even at the expense of other progressives who are already in office doing a pretty damn good job. But, he should have never been part of it, one. I am extremely, and Justice Democrats got a lot of kudos with me because they didn't have to make a public statement calling out Cenk. They could have let it blow by and go to the wayside, but politically, that's what a lot of people would have probably suggested. But for me personally, I think that long term, to be able to say, because think about it, if this came up right now, imagine what will come up later the more Cenk tries to get involved in the political world, like directly putting his hands in the political world. And then they would be directly connected. So Justice Democrats was smart. The board was very savvy in the way they handled the situation, denouncing his words immediately. I will give credit to Cenk. He did not try to deny those things. He did apologize for the words that he used. But that, scarily enough, does give you a glimpse into the mindset of Cenk. I'm not saying that he is quite that bad, but even Anna Kasparian has said that despite her being there longer at the time, John Iadarola was getting the 1 hour show more so than her, and it wasn't really making any sense, and there was no logical explanations. And I mean, she sounded like she wanted to say more during that conversation, but she just kept saying TYT has come a long way, TYT has come a long way, like there was some crazy stuff going on. And I mean, even she herself was talking about how she didn't think that inequality existed. If she worked hard, then she can get where she had to go, which, like I said, is confirmation bias. And then she woke up realizing that sexism is real, and Cenk actively participated in this. He tried to create a culture of sexism when he was a conservative, saying, I mean, he did. He was literally writing opinion pieces saying that women were inferior creatures. You cannot, until you've been held accountable for that, like in this particular example, which he has been. He's been held accountable. I think a lot of people know about it. He got excommunicated from Justice Democrats. I'm not the type of don't get me wrong, I still feel the way I feel about TYT, but I'm not the type of person to want to hold a type of grudge like that. I think once he pays his debt, which he appears to be doing, then he can move on to go into politics after he's explained and apologized and show that he is legitimately remorseful for the words that he used. But I mean, I don't actually think that he is, because he's kind of pompous. So I think that he's just upset he got caught. I think he forgot it. I think that he's kind of like such an egomaniac that he thought that nobody would ever think to look at that type of stuff back in the day. But even if you could watch a little bit of TYT's old videos, they get a little bit raunchy. You got kind of like, it's a little uncomfortable. Yeah, I think that the Justice Democrats did the absolute right thing. I think that Cenk handled it well, just to speak to him actually being apologetic immediately and not denying anything. I'm glad that, to my knowledge, he did not fight this. I know he explained his side of the story, but he did not fight the Justice Democrats' decision publicly, nor did he ridicule them or lambast them for it. So it was well handled, in my opinion, all around. Now, we'll see. I'm going to be watching the Justice Democrats a little bit more closely now. I'll put it like that. because it is actually really good to not be directly connected to a major media conglomerate. Like, that's a good thing. That's a huge, huge thing. And I'm interested to see now how the Justice Democrats will fare without TYT behind them. I hope they are successful in the places they need to be successful in. And I hope Cenk learned a valuable lesson. I hope that he will just come out and say, hey, I've said some things in the past now that I realized were just horrific, and I should not have said those things. I did not realize those words could be harmful to people. And, you know, I apologize for that in advance, because those articles are out there. Those recordings, that audio is out there. Because people have to do that, and that's okay. It is okay to show remorse for things that you said while you were ignorant. We've all done it. But bro, no, I've never said nothing like that though. Okay, the stuff you were saying was crazy. My mom would whoop my ass for the stuff that you were saying. So I've never said anything like that. But yeah, can't say stuff like that. I think I think the Justice Democrats did the right thing. Leave your thoughts in your comments below, ladies and gentlemen, and always remember, find your balance. Peace.